Just remember this.
As time goes by, we're standing on the brink of 2015, and you all know what that means.
We'll finally get the pink hoverboard from Mattel!
That's good news. A lot of you guys have been asking me to make something like a My Top X Games of All Times video. And I've been thinking about that quite a bit, but it's actually a lot harder than I thought. I really don't know if I'll ever be able to make a definitive top 5 games of my life list, because there's always a title that totally deserves a spot, but that I'd have to leave out due to the limitation of only so few slots. But with a new year approaching and 2014 coming to an end, I've decided to share with you my top 7 games in 2014. Why 7, you ask? Why not 10 or 5? Well, because... Bear in mind that only titles that were initially released in 2014 are eligible for this list, and that it's very subjective and personal. Some of those games might not be perfect and can even be flawed in some regards. But what matters to me is that I had a great time playing them, and or that they were brave enough to try some interesting new concepts or ideas that made them a personal highlight for me. And here we go. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is one of those games that don't offer that much traditional gameplay. Some people may even call it a walking simulator. It makes you explore this visually stunning landscape and investigate some mysterious murders and other strange phenomena in the area. The developers created the entire world with a technique called photogrammetry, which means that practically every object in the game, from the tiniest stone up to the most impressive buildings like this beautiful stave church here, were made by taking dozens, if not hundreds of photos from different angles to create the 3D models and textures, which looks pretty amazing and sometimes comes very close to photorealism. That is, as long as you don't see the very mediocre Unreal Engine 3 typical character models, which look kinda off compared to the rest of the game. It includes a few puzzles here and there that are not very difficult altogether, but what I really liked is that the game doesn't hold your hand. It literally says that on the opening screen. The challenge lies mostly in figuring out what the game wants you to do, and the puzzles rely more on finding out what the actual problem is. And I found that very refreshing, compared to the ongoing trend of shoving you every piece of information up the butts like you're a freaking dimwit. If you're the kind of player that sometimes simply enjoys taking a walk from town to town in a game like Skyrim, for example, just to enjoy the landscape, even though you could just as well use the quick travel button, and if you enjoy figuring things out on your own, this game might be worth a try for you. Number 7 of my favorite games in 2014 is The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. I've talked quite a bit about this game in my previous videos, so it probably won't come as a surprise that this game turns up here. It's the single best adaptation of the Alien movies in video game history, if you ask me. With its wonderfully directed art style, with all the cheesy retro sci-fi technology we've come to love from the movies, with a truly terrifying and oftentimes unpredictable alien and NPC AI that will more than once invoke the feeling of utter helplessness in the player, and a challenging and intense 12 to 14 hour campaign that tells the story of Ellen Ripley's daughter Amanda, I've truly enjoyed every minute of this game. If you're the kind of player that enjoys terrifying and frustrating survival horror experiences that encourage situational awareness more than anything else, if you love the Alien franchise and want to finally play a good adaptation of the movies, and if you're the sneaky, stealthy kind of player, I'm sure that the Sevastopol station will feel like a second home to you. Alien Isolation on the 6. Donkey Kong Country for the SNES is one of my favorite games of all times. In fact, when I started recording just for this short segment, I ended up finishing the entire game. Focus, man! What Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Wii U is for me, basically, it's Donkey Kong Country in HD. Mostly. Without sloppy motion controls like in Donkey Kong Country Returns. That's good. The visuals are fantastic, the controls are spot on with the original game, the stages are fun and well designed, and the barrel shooting segments feel even more awesome in 3D. Who would have thought that? It's fast-paced, challenging, and a shitload of fun, alone or cooperative with a friend. Oh, and the music brings up so many memories. La 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 la. And come on, it's got goddamn Vikings. Well, Viking penguins at least. That's a lot better than a plank of fucking wood. Number 5 is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the Wii U. I often talk about how much I love games that use their mechanics in a meaningful, metaphoric way to enhance the overall message it tries to convey. Well, this War of Mine is the perfect example for that. It's a survival game that takes place in a war zone, but instead of playing the usual patriotic war hero that saves the world from evil Nazi communist terrorists with his badassery by shooting everybody that moves, this game for once puts you in the shoes of a group of civilians that just so happen to be trapped in a war zone. You make sure everybody has enough food and water, cure sickness, fight depression, and provide as much comfort as possible in your refuge. Your main objective is to survive the war by all means. And you have no means of knowing when the war will end. Is it 1 month, 10 weeks, more than a year? You have no way of knowing. This game does a very good job at portraying at least a fraction of the helplessness and despair of people bound to such unfortunate circumstances. And it puts the player often enough in gut-wrenching situations, where you have to make decisions without the blatant and binary good or bad moral hammer most games patronize you with. Imagine a typical This War of Mine situation. Your group is critically low on food, and the only way for the person that's lying sick on a mattress at home to survive is if you steal the supplies of an old couple that barely manages to pull through. Will you take their belongings and leave them to starvation? Or do you let your group member die from fever and hunger? It's your choice, and it's your lump in your throat. For being an outstanding anti-war game, This War of Mine wins the 4th place. Let's be honest, who believes all the shit publishers and developers promise us about their games, huh? I mean, lying about their games is obviously part of their business plan, with fake trailers, exaggerated summaries, and false promises. Well, not in the case of Yacht Club games. Their summary of Shovel Knight is as follows. Shovel Knight is a sweeping classic action-adventure with awesome gameplay, memorable characters, and an 8-bit retro aesthetic. If you love games with perfect platforming, beautiful art, infectious music, crazy bosses, humor and levity, and real hard, Shovel Knight is for you. I couldn't put it in better words. Shovel Knight is everything I hoped for when I threw my money at their Kickstarter campaign a year ago. The game brings back the addictive, spot-on platforming bliss of the good old Capcom 8-bit jump-and-run classics like Mega Man and DuckTales, and glues it together with modern game design to bring you this platforming masterpiece. Shovel Knight wins the 3rd place. Now, I know that PT is not a full game, but only a teaser for the new Silent Hills game directed by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. That's what the abbreviation stands for, playable teaser. But this game might be one of the best marketing campaigns for a video game in ever. And it was by far the most frightening, disturbing and engrossing horror experience in 2014. In PT, the player is caught in an endless loop, forced to traverse different versions of the same corridor over and over again, and experience the protagonist's personal hell. It's filled with mystery and suspense and cryptic hints about a tragic multiple homicide that occurred in his house. It's dark, it's gritty, and it doesn't solely rely on cheap jump scares, but fucks with the player's mind and perception. When I tried it out, I couldn't lay down the controller for hours because this visually amazing narrative experience with its Stanley Parable-esque weirdness managed to completely immerse me until I made it to the very ending. If you have a PS4 and you haven't played it yet, I recommend you check it out ASAP. I mean, it's free after all. If Silent Hills is only half as terrifying as this teaser, it could very well become the best horror game of all times, but let's not jump the shark. For an amazing interactive horror experience and a truly courageous marketing campaign, PT is number 2 of my favorite games in 2014. Rise, son of Rome. Oh boy, where do I even start? The expectations for this game were incredibly high from the very beginning, and boy did they Wait, that's not right. Oh, I got the wrong list. Let's try that again. Divinity Original Sin. Oh boy, where do I even start? The expectations for this game were incredibly high from the very beginning of the Kickstarter campaign. Larian Studios promised their backers a true role-playing experience that will bring back the days of Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale. And boy did they deliver! This beautiful, handcrafted world invites you to endless hours of exploration and variety and adventure around every corner. Each place is unique. Every enemy encounter is special and memorable. No endless grinding through repetitive waves of minions, but meaningful and tactically demanding battles. When your party spots a group of enemies in the distance, you don't just rush in. You rather think about your options. Will you try to circumvent them, or will you take them on, but cautiously, because there's almost no easy battle in this game, and that makes each victory so insanely satisfying. It features an old-school turn-based combat system, which I absolutely love. It feels very close to playing a traditional pen-and-paper RPG. The hours of superbly written and oftentimes hilarious dialogue. Yes, you will have to read a lot. Surprise! Also, the huge amount of non-combat time you can spend in the cities, with dozens of interesting quests and activities that each tell a story of their own. No boring bring me 10 of this and 12 of that fetch quests, but unique stories that make you explore and understand the world. Also, each of the dozens of perks and abilities open up new possibilities to play the game in a different way. What also feels amazing is that the game really respects the wits and intelligence of the player. Instead of tutorializing for hours on end, it makes you figure things out on your own. The game, for example, refrains from pointing towards your current objective on the map. Why is this a good thing, you ask? Because you don't enter the zombie mode, where you stop paying attention and always run blindly towards the next marker on the map. But you have to get invested in the world and get to know every nook and cranny until it becomes your second home. And it even features a splendid co-op mode. Yes, you can play the entire campaign together with a friend. That's of course if you have any friends. I could literally rant for hours about all the little things and details that make Divinity Original Sin such a huge success for me. But I think if you like truly old-school role-playing experiences that respect your intelligence and give you a vast and unique open world to explore with something fresh and exciting around every corner, I believe you should give it a try for yourself. I'm certain you won't be disappointed. Divinity Original Sin. Fantastic game, 10 out of 10, RagnarRox Game of the Year 2014. Oh shit, is this gonna be a thing now? So there you have it, my top 7 games in 2014. So which one of the games I listed here did you enjoy the most this year? Tell me by clicking one of the annotations below, and in a week or so I'll tell you the results of the voting on my Facebook. And because you may not agree with me, and there's no better way than going into the new year with fellow friends, check out these Best of 2014 videos by some friends of mine. Connor from ConnerTheWaffle has put together his top 5 Nintendo games of the year 2014. And Shane Lewis from Rerez has compiled a super interesting compilation of the top 5 games of 2014 you haven't played. I totally love checking out games that went under the radar, and if you're on the same page with me on that video's for you. And with that, I want to thank you guys for these amazing months on this channel. You've shown to be a great community. I really appreciate all your support and kind words, and I wish you all a happy new year with lots of new videos. So as always, thanks for watching, keep on playing, and I'll see you next time on RagnarRox.